All right, I have 6:30 on my clock. I'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome, everyone. Roll call, Mr. Lombard.
Off.
Yes.
Odie. Klumper. Yes. Saxer is absent. Schrader.
Yes.
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented tonight.
So move.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. There are no conflict of interest disclosure or waiver requests tonight, and I don't believe there is any community input tonight. So before we get to our oral reports, I have a special thank you I'd like to give to Superintendent Larson for participating on Thursday night in the variety show. There is proof of pictures on the Shutterfly account if you would like to look at that and use that as you choose. So thank you, and hopefully again, hopefully you'll participate again sometime.
I won't be participating again, and I would note that I don't sing and I can't dance, and I proved the latter.
Thank you. All right, with that, oral reports, good news report from the high school, please.
There we go. Working? Good. I just want to reiterate, it was so bad it was good at the Fine Arts Show. So hopefully if someone in the community is listening and has the video of that, we'd love to receive it so we can see it. But first of all, I want to just thank you guys for being able to share a little bit about post-secondary and career fair nights. Post-secondary we had in the fall, and then career night is going to come up with our conferences next month at March. Before I turn it over to the brains of the post-secondary and career night, I did want to talk a little bit about maybe how it came to fruition, or how did it come to real life. And it's kind of three different things coming together over a year and a half process. The first one would be the Administrative Council over the past 2 years has kind of had discussions on how can we engage not only our parents, but our students in conferences. And it might be a little bit easier at the elementary levels. And then Mr. Nick Skibstead 3 years ago decided to do a student showcase and got 90-some% of your students there and kind of set the bar high. And I'm competitive and not sure I'll ever reach that at the high school level, but certainly something we're going to try to attain. So that was the first thing that got my mind kind of spinning on what could we do with conferences to engage our parents. The second thing was throughout the 2017-18 school year, Dr. Larson helped facilitate the strategic planning process. And early on in November and December, one of the things that was really clear to us is that our parents and students expressed a desire to be exposed to post-secondary options along with potential careers. So that kind of started to play a role. And then 13 months ago, my CTE teachers, career and technical education teachers, were at a regional meeting in Sioux Falls, and the Department of Ed had us all at the same table, and they had us brainstorming what could you do as a group to expand student knowledge at your level. And that's where it kind of got born, and then I brought it back to these three, and I'm telling you, these three just took it and ran. So I'm going to turn it over to them. Miss Katie Murdy, Miss Kara Lickness, and Michelle Stemwettle, they're all going to share with you a little bit about what we've done. Thank you.
So I will start with the post-secondary night. How it came about is about a year ago, Mr. Schuckman came to us and told us the idea, and the counselors got together and we looked at schools that our students at BVHS have attended. And so we looked at 2-year and 4-year schools in the surrounding states, and thankfully we had an intern at that time, and she ran with it. She found contact numbers and emails, and so we made a Google form and we emailed that out around August the first time, and then we sent it out a couple weeks later, and then we sent a paper form to area local schools that we hadn't heard from yet. And so the time came for it, and we ended up with 18 4-year schools in South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, and Minnesota, and then 8 2-year schools from South Dakota, Iowa, and Minnesota. and then all the military in the state of South Dakota. And the big deal about the military for us was that we got the Air Force ROTC and the Army ROTC programs from SDSU and USD to attend, and it's really hard to get them in the schools. So it was a great opportunity for our students who are interested in the ROTC programs to talk to recruiters of those programs. So we'll see some pictures, but how it was set up is there was a table for each college, for each school, with about 1 to 2 reps at each table. I will say the feedback we've gotten back from schools like SDSU and USD and Augie is they really want to bring 2 reps next year because the lines for them were pretty long, so that's a good problem to have. We did have prizes as well to kind of encourage students to attend. They got signatures from 3 of their teachers if they attended conferences, and then 2 signatures from representatives, and then they turned that in for a drawing, and some area businesses gave gift cards. So I'm going to go to the next slide. So after the post-secondary night, we sent an email with a Google Doc or a Google form to parents and students and asked just for some feedback on what they thought. And so we had 280 responses, and you can see from the slide here what percentage of each answered. So if the next question was if they attended the post-secondary night, then we got even more feedback. So of the 130 students, yep, we'll go to that side. Of the 130 students who attended, we asked them what recruiters and what college reps they visited, and those are those percentages. And then we asked parents the same thing. I would say out of this information, I would say the highlight is that 96% of students and 83% of parents agreed that they learned something new at the post-secondary fair, so that was definitely made it worth it. So, and then we also asked for just some quotes, some experiences, and it was very positive. They're asking for it year after year, which is good. For students, I would say, like this quote says, a lot of them were able to talk to recruiters for the first time ever, and so they got rid of some of those nerves, and they were able to ask questions that they were wondering, and just got them less anxious, as that quote says. For college reps, one of the big things was that they talked about students and parents who didn't even know about their school or where it was located, some of the smaller schools, and then some of the programs that they didn't even know their school offered. So again, very positive, and we're excited to do it again next year. So I'll turn it to Ms. Lickness.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about free application week, which we participated in this year, and it was perfect timing because we were able to have the post-secondary college fair the same time as conferences, and then advertise that we were going to be participating in the free application week. So this is an opportunity for our senior students to apply to up to 3 South Dakota 4- and 2-year schools, and they do not have to pay that application fee, then that's waived for them. So we were advertising that at the fair as well as then through the announcements and posters around the school, but students were able then to speak to some of those colleges and locations and get a better idea if it is a place that they'd like to apply to. Some other fun things that we encouraged throughout that week, staff were able to wear college gear and kind of talk about their stories and why they chose to go to school where they did and their experience. Examples of "You Bet I Went to College" posters were encouraged, so staff received copies and were to enter in kind of their journey, their highlights, things that they liked, and a photo of themselves from the college year, so that was fun. Drew in a lot of attention from students. And then we also had a representative from STI and the University Center here in the community room one day that week, just to be present for students who maybe were having some challenges or didn't know how to fill out the application, so they had somebody to work with and connect with as they were applying for those schools, and answer any questions as well.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up with this spring conferences on March 12th with a career fair. So it'll be the same thing that we did with the post-secondary planning night, but we'll bring in different careers. We've done this with Kim Serwick. She sent an email to all the chamber businesses. And so as of the 22nd, we had 23 local businesses. As of today, I think it was 24. Is that correct? 24 local businesses are planning to attend. 8 of these businesses have talked about how they're open to having internships next school year, so our students can use those businesses for internships. So we're excited about that. We're excited about some potential summer job opportunities that we might be able to share with the students and the parents. And we're hoping that it'll up our conference attendance in the spring as well. So that's our plan. Any questions?
I got one thing, sorry. Any questions? I'll just piggyback a little bit on that. The internship type thing, more information in the coming months is going to come to you guys on that. We're looking at running a pilot paid internship program next year, so partnering with businesses, healthcare providers, and so you're going to hear a lot about that in the coming months, and we're really working a lot of things in the background right now for that. So, go ahead.
Mark, if on the internship program,
Yeah.
will kids get a credit for that or a part of a credit?
Yeah, the thought would be for a semester-long internship, they would get 1 credit, which then will play a role into what we call a CTE credit, which I'm going to explain to you a little bit later in the meeting. So, good question. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. That takes us to administration reports. Superintendent's report, please.
Very good. I would just note that Principal Schleckaway referenced it, but this is a prime-time example of what the board's strategic plan does as far as action. So one of our goals within our strategic plan is promoting parent and community partnerships and engagement, and all of the items that you just heard about through our post-secondary fair and then also our career fair the second semester are directly aligned to that. So that's definitely work that stems directly from the strategic plan and the work done by this board and all of the patrons that were involved in that process. So with that, a couple of items for you to update you on. Kindergarten screening will start here in early March. Individuals need to contact their respective attendance center to get registered for kindergarten screenings. Teacher negotiations are coming up in addition to wage recommendations for the 1920 contract. All dates for negotiations have been confirmed by all parties. Tentatively, we would plan on ratifying the master contract there at the April 8th board meeting. That's pending successful negotiations, et cetera. Would note that the budget process is in motion. You will receive a preliminary capital outlay budget here in the month of March. May will be our preliminary budget presentation, and then the third Monday in July, which we will establish as our annual meeting, will serve as our budget hearing and potential action. I would provide you with a quick update on legislation. Associated school boards and school administrators both have a bill tracker that allows you to track the progress of bills that you certainly can utilize. I would tell you at this point in time, our number one priority is school funding. Governor Noem has come out within her budget address and identified 2.5% being the established increase within her budget. I would tell you that we need that number to go to 3% to ensure that the 0.7% one-time money that we received last year is rolled into the formula and we're able to maintain teacher salaries and maintain our funding status in accordance to statute. So right now, our number one priority is finding that extra 0.5% to move us to a 3% increase in education. With that, I would note Brandon Day at the legislature was rescheduled to this Wednesday. We have a large group of Brandon Valley High School students attending. That's the first time that we've had that group attend, from what I know and understand. Greatly look forward to taking out 35 high school students and our student council advisors, our high school student council advisors, engaging with our elected representatives out there. I believe our high school students will have a tour of the Capitol, and then they will eat lunch with the state's legislators, and then there is a scheduled meeting with Governor Noem, and then a picture opportunity, and then they'll be on their way home from Pierce. So that's scheduled for this Wednesday. Superintendent evaluation and contract is outlined for your review. Please get your evaluation, your individual evaluation to President Owen so she can compile those results, and then we'll move through that process. Appreciate the high school sharing their good news presentation. Our second meeting in March, our elementary buildings will have their good news presentation, followed by the intermediate school there in April. Couple items to note regarding the academic calendar. School will be in session on Thursday, March 14th. That was an established snow day. School will be in session on Thursday, March 14th. There will be no school on March 15th for a comp day for parent-teacher conferences. And then I would just note that the academic calendar for this year, we will have a modification or a recommendation to modify the academic calendar at our March 11th board meeting. That's due to the 4 days of no school that we have had this year due to weather. I would tell you that the process for developing that recommendation will go through our administrative council. So the administrative council has received the proposal. They are reviewing that proposal and providing me feedback on the recommendation. In addition to that, I will be meeting with the BVEA to review and discuss that proposal. And then following the board's approval of the recommendation, that will be disseminated to our parents, guardians, and then certainly the community. I would note that the association and/or the administrative council's approval is not required for you to make a modification to the calendar. However, we greatly value the insight and the feedback of our administrative council and then also our teachers association as we work to find the best bad idea that we've got. So, with that, I would certainly entertain any questions that you may have.
All right. Thank you very much, Superintendent Larson. That takes us to first item under general business, Brandon Valley High School graduation requirements presentation and approval.
Yeah, you might want to. That'll work. That'll work. Thank you. First of all, what I want to walk you through, we really tried to condense this for you guys into, I think Dr. Larson said if we could do it 4 slides or under. I think we got it in 3 if you take out the title. So the first slide here is just going to show you what the state minimum requirements are. Okay, and what I want to reiterate to you, as a school board, you guys can approve requirements that are tougher than this. Let's just put it that way, and that's what we're going to be asking you to do tonight. But you can kind of see, so right here, this black circle with the number in front, so that 4 represents the number of English credits you would need to graduate. That's the minimum from the state of South Dakota. So the 3 here with math is 3. You can see English requires 1 unit of writing, half unit of speech, and 1 unit of lit. Or American literature, a half unit of American literature. We currently do that in our current system. We have a little bit more stringent guidelines than that I'll discuss here in a minute. Math, the only thing the state is going to require moving forward is Algebra 1. And so you can have 3 math credits, but Algebra 1 has to be one of them. So you could have pre-algebra, or algebra, what we call Algebra 1A, 1B, Algebra 1, and then informal geometry. Science, the state requires just 1 unit of bio. Social studies, 3 units. 1 unit has to be U.S. history, a half unit of U.S. government. Okay, so kind of going down there. And they also require a half unit of health that I'm going to talk about on the next slide. So this is just the basic state of South Dakota requirements on this first slide. Next slide. So let's go into a little bit of detail of what we are proposing at Brandon Valley. What I can assure you is that there is nothing drastic from what we've currently been doing. Okay, some of the things that we've implemented over time maybe play a nice role into what the state minimum requirements are, but we still have a high standard. I mean, our academic achievement is something that is a pride of ours, and so I think of backing off our requirements would personally be a mistake. So when you look here at the English, we're going to require 4.5, so we require a year-long class of English, English 9, English 10, English 11. I don't put English 12 on there because we have 4 different options in English 12, and we didn't want to list that. And then we also require a half unit of speech their freshman year. That's been our common practice for years, and we're proposing to stay with that. Under the math world, Algebra 1 is required, along with geometry or informal geometry. That is a practice that we've had, and we still require the 3 credits. Just to be clear, because I know some of you maybe aren't in the teaching world, 1 credit class would be a year-long class that meets 1 period a day. So Algebra 1 all year would be an example of a 1 credit class. A half credit class would be an example, would be PE. You meet half the year. You're in the half credit. A big area, social studies, I think that's worth looking at. The state had 1 unit U.S. history and a half unit of government. We are going to require a half unit of geography and a half unit of world history. We just feel strongly in those 2 subject matters and believe that our students benefit from both of those. And yes, it's social studies, but those 2 classes we believe helps us in the ACT world, whether it's the reading part of the ACT or the English part and things like that. So this is a bit of a change from a previous year. We did require 3.5 credits of social studies, so we are backing that off to 3. The primary reason for that is the expansion of the CTE program. And how the state is kind of pushing credits in the CTE world. So a student that is passionate about social studies still can take 3.5 social studies. Okay. Science, we're going to require 1 unit of bio along with 1 unit of physical science or physics. Okay, and that's been common practice. We're not changing anything there. The CTE world doesn't change, 1 unit of any combo. The next slide I'm going to explain a little bit about some endorsements that a student could get and how that affects the CTE world. Personal finance or econ, that's something that we've always required. Health is the one maybe I want to point out a little bit to you here. You see the PF, BVMS. We kind of follow the same practice that Sioux Falls does. Our students get their health credit in middle school. Okay? So that shows up on their transcript. That half credit does not go to their 22. So we require 22 credits to graduate. What I need you to understand is, on average, our students graduate with over 24 credits. Okay, so the 22 is just a minimum. Okay, and things like that. And then the thing that the state does not require that we're pretty passionate about continuing to require is computer science, a half credit of computer science. And the computer science is almost a double dip because that's also a CTE class. It won't count for both, but it can count toward a career cluster. Any questions? There's a lot of information here, okay? The one thing I do want to point out before is that there are special circumstances where BV administration can waive the BV requirements as long as the student has satisfied the minimum requirements set forth by the state. Okay? Those are rare cases. Examples might be students that are on an IEP, a 504, or maybe a student who has a medical condition, pretty extreme, that we would use that, but there would have to be a waiver signed by the parents or through the IEP process that gets put in their individual education plan. So a student in special ed. Go ahead.
Yeah, quick question, Mark.
Yeah.
So for the South Dakota requirements, it has 1 unit of writing and 1 unit of lit.
Yep.
And then for our requirements, English 9, 10, and 11, I'm assuming, do all of those classes incorporate writing and lit?
Yep, they're embedded in there, yeah. And then the American Lit's embedded into the junior year. Good question.
Principal Schleckaway, I would just comment on the note regarding special circumstances. Another example would be an individual child that's moving into Brandon Valley High School as a senior, and maybe they went to another South Dakota high school. So if they don't have the half a unit of geography or the half a unit of world history, and they took the history of rock and roll and the history of ancient Greece, we would basically have the ability to say, okay, they've met the 3 units, but they didn't get those 2 specific classes. So that's why it's important to allow our high school administration the ability to waive that type of specific requirement.
Yep. And then maybe another point to make, if a student moves in and doesn't have health, like if on their transcript at all and didn't have health in middle school, we would do a health class. We would just use our Edgenuity program. We would do an online class for health, which we already utilize for a few of our 8th graders that are in some upper level classes. Any other questions? A lot of information on that slide. Okay, the last thing I kind of want to go over is next year on student transcripts, the state of South Dakota has endorsed the idea of putting endorsements on. So if you look at these 3 endorsements, advanced endorsement, advanced career endorsement, and advanced honors endorsement, our counselors may be busy toward the end of the year because they're going to have to check to see what endorsements a student qualifies for. And those will go on the transcript. You could have all 3 of them on your transcript. And so this is something new. What I am going to say is the state is still in conversations in one of the areas on changing or modifying a couple things, but this probably isn't going anywhere, so we've really tried to simplify it. So the advanced endorsement is going to be coursework that's consistent with requirement of entrance into a college or university, a 4-year university. So the big difference from the PowerPoint or the slide before would be it does require Algebra 2. Okay, so a student is definitely on that college track. That's what they would get. The advanced career endorsement is a concentration on an area like a workplace experience, and that's where the CTE thing comes in. We talked a lot about expanding our CTE course offerings, and the one area we really focused on this year was in the health career area with Principles of Biomedical Science. That's going to allow a student to earn this endorsement. They need 2 credits. Okay, so 2 full years. And board member Odie asked earlier on how does internship work? An internship in a health-related field and Principles of Biomedical Science would equate out to 2 credits, which would get the advanced career endorsement. A student who is interested in construction management, for example, or working with their hands, we brought back Woods class this year. The important thing about bringing Woods back is that can lead to classes at CTE with construction management. So we have Woods 1 next year, which we haven't offered for 3 years. Then the next year we'll offer Woods 1 and Woods 2, which can then lead a student to CTE for another course and get the advanced career endorsement in that realm. Ag is another great example. Ag welding we have, and which leads to our welding program at CTE and things like that. So there's many different areas. Computer science is another one. And the CTE teachers are sitting down on Wednesday, and we're kind of mapping out all the career clusters, so students are kind of aware. The other interesting part about this starts next year with all of our students. Our past practice has been incoming freshmen, but the state has said, no, this is going to be true for all students. So we're going to have to do a little bit of planning and looking at. The endorsements right now are so new that people don't know what they hold yet, if that makes sense. But it's certainly something I met with the 8th grade parents last Tuesday night and kind of just walked them through what this looks like, and I assured them the process as we move on will be clear. Advanced honors endorsement, that's going to be consistent with the South Dakota Opportunity Scholarship. So you would need 4 math, 4 science, 2 credits either in the CTE world or the world language world. So like Spanish 1, Spanish 2 has to be the same language. State does allow us to do Spanish 1 and then 2 CTE classes, but in order to get that. So another thing about the advanced honors endorsement, you have to have a C or higher in all of your classes. So some neat stuff. It's just a way to differentiate, and I don't know exactly what the state's going to use it for and things like that, but really wanted to simplify the process for you as much as possible, but yet give you enough information that if anybody out in the community asked, you were comfortable answering any questions.
I have a quick question on that. Just so I'm clear, so those endorsements could get on the high school transcript?
Yep.
And that would give them what advantage exactly?
We're not sure yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Being discussed.
Yeah, we're not sure yet. Yeah. Yes.
The endorsements are specifically mandated by the state of South Dakota Board of Education. I would tell you, I believe that it's from their perspective, I believe that it's a way for students to obtain a level of high school diploma, for lack of a better phrase, the advanced honors certificate, or the advanced honors, help me, what's the tagline?
Advanced honors endorsement.
Endorsement, thank you. The advanced honors endorsement is like the best of the best type of high school diploma that you can get. So you maybe don't obtain the opportunity scholarship, but you could have that endorsement. Is that accurate or not?
That is, yeah.
I mean, that's how I understood it through what I understand. So
This is the format.
anyway, it's a way of differentiating and/or highlighting certain academic areas within the high school diploma.
Yeah. And kudos to our the high school counselors, because they've spent hours and hours and hours asking questions to the state of South Dakota and really diving into how this is going to affect us. The good news is overall, we're not really asking for any major changes on what our kids are required to do. So,
So with that in mind too, even at the next level, the college level, they're probably in this mode of, they're not for sure what those endorsements might mean to them either.
well, yeah, and we kind of just found out that the Board of Regents is starting to have conversations on what is this going to do, what does this look like, and they're starting to change some of their requirements now, potentially in the near future for admittance to their schools.
I think in the perfect world, when it was all being dreamed of, for example, if you had a career and technical education endorsement on your high school diploma, you would have automatic admittance into a 2-year technical school in the state of South Dakota. I think that's the general concept or idea that they were hoping to
Yeah, I
get
agree.
to.
I agree.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion on the grad requirements?
With that, Madam Chair, certainly would need approval of the Brandon Valley High School graduation requirements as outlined in the slide demonstrated.
Sorry.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Personnel items, we have items number 1 through 7. Under consent agenda, I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented, please.
So move.
Second.
There's been a first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. One information only request under there, and that takes us to our board reports. Does anyone have a formal report that they would like to give tonight? Hearing none, that takes us to the end of our scheduled agenda. I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, everyone.